so you got your tape supply, just a little section of it over there to the side. You got your board in front of you.
It's so hard.
And what I'm going to do is give you a section of this paper. And this is just plain old freezer paper like you get in the grocery store. But what it will do is provide a barrier between the paint and the board that you're using. And you're going to actually mix your paints on this section of freezer paper. Like that. And then what I want you to do is tape it to one side of your board. Okay, now let's look at our brushes right quick, okay? So I want you to pull your brushes out and look at them. And if you remember from an earlier demonstration that I did, there are different types of brushes to give you different types of effects. And so what you have is a number 3 round. You can look on the handle of the brush and you'll see it's identified as a number 3 and a round. And that means that ferrule, that gold part, is round. And a round brush like this, if you dip it in some water, it'll get that kind of binder off of it that keeps it such a nice point. But a round brush allows more pigment or more paint to be held up in the body of the brush. But you don't paint with the whole flat side of the brush. You just paint with the tip. Do y'all remember that? From when we did the ink brush demo?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you realize about, look at this bristle.
Down like fluffy.
Yeah, look how soft compared to this bristle, right?
Are these brushes supposed to be hard?
Yeah, they're a boar bristle, and so the brush, the hairs of the brush are going to be much stiffer than the ones that you use for ink, and there's a reason for that, because the paint that you're going to be using is a lot thicker than the ink that you were using. Okay. Now that doesn't mean you can't go back and use a thinner brush for this paint, but let me work with you on that if you try to do that. So you have a round. What other brushes do you have in here?
6, 2 6s. You got an 8. You got a shader. You got a flat. You got a filbert.
Yeah, you got a filbert, right. Very good, Ty. Show us what a filbert is. Which one is it?
That's this one. That's the number 6. It's still number 6.
Yeah, it's still number 6. It's got a flat ferrule, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right? And it's got that rounded, nice rounded tip on it. And I love to work with filberts.
Stab somebody with it.
You can stab somebody, yeah. But we don't want to stab anybody. That would be bad.
So we need to leave our brushes in the water.
No, you don't leave your brushes in the water bristle down. Do you know why?
So it's going to dissolve.
Because they'll get soft and they'll begin to bend and you'll lose that tip. And the most important part of that brush really is that tip. And you don't want to leave it sitting tip down in water for an extended length of time, because then you've ruined it. All right. Now what is our final? So we got a bright, a number 8 bright, which is flat across.
You got another number 6.
And a number 6. Let's call it a shader. Okay, a flat and a bright are the same type thing, okay? So your number 8 flat, I call them brights, but they're flats as well. And then your number 6 is a flat too, but it's got shader on here, so.
And the last one is number 8, a flat.
Number 8 flat. So you've got a range of brushes, and that's going to give you a range of marks. We've already studied mark making. We know that we can vary our marks, so these brushes will allow us to do it. So right now what I'd like for you to do, okay, wait a minute, let me think about this. All right, so we've got an idea of what our brushes are. Now what we're going to do is we're going to build our palette. I'm going to teach you how to build a palette. And as you go throughout your art career, you may decide to keep this palette structure, or you may decide you want a different kind of structure. An artist's palette is a very personal and intimate aspect of being an artist, all right? But right now in this class, I'm going to teach you a basic palette layout. And it's going to start with your primary colors. So first we're going to use ultramarine blue. And this is an acrylic paint. You know, remember acrylic?
Thick paint.
It's plastic. It's basically plastic with pigment in it. And this is a heavy-bodied plastic pigment. And it's even kind of dried a little bit over here, you can see. But in the middle it's soft. And this is my spreader. And each one of you should have a spreader. You've got to keep up with it as well. And I'm going to take just about that much. How much is that?
Under
A little.
About like a teaspoon, a little less than a teaspoon. And I'm going to place it, where am I going to place it? I'm going to place it right about at 9 o'clock on my palette. You've got to, hold on, you've got to get that paint off your spreader. So I want you to take it and use tissue or paper towel and just wipe that paint really good off that spreader, because you're going to need it for the next round of paint. And the reason you're going to wipe your spreader off is because I don't want to ever see this. All right?
Well, you just did it?
No, I did not do this. This was done by a student last semester. But this is in a very expensive vat of paint. And when you do that, you run it for everybody else, okay? Okay, now finally we're going to get to our final color, and it's yellow. It is a primary color, yellow. So I'm going to take and I'm going to put a little bit over here of yellow at 3 o'clock.